So good to see all of you. Hope you and yours are safe and well. Today is Israel's 75th birthday. It is Yom HaAtzmaut. It is a reason for great celebration. What I thought we would do today as a text learning, because we have made sure to bring every holiday's sacred texts into our conversation. We've done so for holidays like Pesach and Shavuot and Sukkot. We have done so for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We have done so for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We have done so even for Election Day here in America. There are sacred words that are called to be recited every single holiday. The canon, the Jewish canon, and the civic canon here in the United States, each of them comes with their own sacred texts. What would the bracha for voting look like? What does the bracha for memory when it comes to our survivors and those we lost in the Shoah? What does this moment demand? This is a moment of incredible celebration. And for all the complexity of Israel's identity, this is not that moment. This is a moment for incredible celebration and a recognition of the miracle that the state of Israel represents. For anyone who hesitates from celebrating Israel because of the immediate modern politics that we face, yes, they are serious. Yes, they are concerning. But imagine for a second an alternate history for our people, where there had been a state of Israel 90 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago. That would be a very different Jewish history. If only our great-grandparents had had such a thing. That should remind us in the most immediate way what a miracle the state of Israel is. Judy, our dear friend, is in Israel for Yom HaAtzmaut. You are wishing us Chag HaAtzmaut Sameach from our homeland. Home is always worth the work, and homelessness is its opposite. We came home. 75 years ago, our home was rededicated. We were reborn as a people. And so the sacred text for today is nothing short of a statement of birth. And so what I thought we would do is hear the words of the Declaration of Independence, Megillat HaAtzmaut, because I believe that it is part of our sacred canon. We don't call it the Declaration of Independence in Hebrew. We call it Megillat HaAtzmaut. And you know what a Megillah is. We have scrolls, Megillot, the scroll of Esther. We have the scroll of Eicha, the scroll of the Song of Songs. And one of the things that makes so much of this connectable is that each one of those scrolls was written with a historical context. And often God seems absent, but is incredibly present in the hearts of the people who are the story. You and I, friends, we are the story. This is who we are. This is our diary. These are the words we recited when we were reborn as a national people, a people with a home. So I want you to listen. I want you to close your eyes and imagine sitting in those moments, May of 1948, the world having gone through what the world had just gone through, the Jewish people having gone through what the Jewish people had just gone through. Standing not in agreement, it's not how Jews stand, but standing united. This is our story, friends, and this is how we told it. Be'eretz Yisrael kam ha'am ha'yehudi. In Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, the Jewish nation was born here. Their spiritual, religious, and political identity was shaped here. They first attained to statehood, created cultural values of national and universal significance, and gave to the world the eternal book of books, Sefer HaSfarim. After being forcibly exiled from their land, the people kept faith with it throughout their dispersion and never ceased to pray and hope for their return to it and for the restoration in it of their political freedom. Impelled by this historic and traditional attachment, Jews strove in every successive generation to reestablish themselves in their ancient homeland. In recent decades, they returned in their masses. Pioneers, Ma'apilim, and defenders. They made deserts bloom, revived the Hebrew language, built villages and towns, and created a thriving community controlling its own economy and culture, loving peace, but knowing how to defend itself, bringing the blessings of progress to all the country's inhabitants and aspiring towards independent nationhood. In the year 5657, and just inserting my own commentary here, that's how we tell time. You, the rest of the world, would have called that 1897. But Jews tell time as a people with its own dignity, a people with its own worldview. The first command after liberation from Egypt was Achodesh Hazeh Yelachem. This month is the beginning of your year. Count time as a free people. We are free. We came home. In the year 5657, at the summons of the spiritual father of the Jewish state, Theodor Herzl, the first Zionist Congress convened and proclaimed the right of the Jewish people to national rebirth in its own country. This right was recognized in the Balfour Declaration of the 2nd of November, 1917, and reaffirmed in the mandate of the League of Nations, the precursor to the UN, which in particular gave international sanction to the historic connection between the Jewish people and Eretz Yisrael, and to the right of the Jewish people to rebuild its national home. The catastrophe which recently befell the Jewish people, the massacre of millions of Jews in Europe, was another clear demonstration of the urgency of solving the problem of its homelessness by reestablishing in Eretz Yisrael the Jewish state. That is the language of Herzl's pamphlet, Der Judenstaat, the Jewish state. This is what a dream looks like when it comes true, which would open the gates of the homeland wide to every Jew and confer upon the Jewish people the status of a fully privileged member of the Comity of Nations. Survivors of the Nazi Holocaust in Europe, as well as Jews from other parts of the world, continued to emigrate to Eretz Yisrael, undaunted by difficulties, restrictions, and dangers, and never ceased to assert their right to a life of dignity, freedom, and honest toil in their national homeland. Honest toil, the image of a new Jew who works the land, who has muscles, who can defend herself. In the Second World War, the Jewish community of this country contributed its full share to the struggle of the freedom and peace-loving nations against the forces of Nazi wickedness, and by the blood of its soldiers and its war effort gained the right to be reckoned among the peoples who founded the United Nations. On the 29th of November, you might live or have visited on the street in Yerushalayim called Chavtet b'November. On the 29th of November 1947, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution calling for the establishment of a Jewish state in Eretz Yisrael. The General Assembly required the inhabitants of Eretz Yisrael to take such steps as were necessary on their part for the implementation of that resolution. Friends, hear this next sentence with thunder. This recognition by the United Nations of the right of the Jewish people to establish their state is irrevocable. This right is the natural right of the Jewish people to be masters of their own fate, like all other nations, in their own sovereign state. Accordingly, we, members of the People's Council, representatives of the Jewish community of Eretz Yisrael and of the Zionist movement, are here assembled on the day of the termination of the British mandate over Eretz Yisrael, and, by virtue of our natural and historic right, and on the strength of the resolution of the United Nations General Assembly, hereby declare the establishment of a Jewish state in Eretz Yisrael to be known as Medinat Yisrael. The declaration continues with appeals to the world, to Arab neighbors, to the Jews around the world, to be part of constructing and building and nurturing and cultivating and rebuilding and tending to the heart of our people reborn 75 years ago today. I was born into a world that already had a state of Israel. I was born into a world where Jewish pride was a reflection of many things, including the 1967 war, where we did better than survive. Friends, if you, in your heart of hearts, have vacillated in your devotion to our homeland and what it means, I understand. This is a day for thinking about that again and for recharging your own soul. Whether you see your own devotion to Israel as reflected in the words of Theodor Herzl, whose idea of political Zionism was defensible borders and a safe haven, whether you see it through cultural Zionism represented by Echad Ha'am as the place for original Jewish creativity where we can become our best selves once again, whether you see it as religious Zionism, the way Rav Kook did, the pre-State of Israel chief Ashkenazi rabbi of British Mandate Palestine, who believed that the exile from the land for 2,000 years was because of our sins, and now the land was purified and calling us home. Whether you see it in the language of Louis Brandeis, the first Jewish Supreme Court Justice of the United States, who rallied the American Jewish community to understand that being a Zionist was also being a devoted American patriot, because the values and aspirations of both nations were so aligned. Whether you, like Yossi Klein Halevi, see yourself as a partner in anguish because our homeland is still an experiment. It's a beautiful creation in process. As former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said to a group of UJA supporters just a month ago, we are turning 75. Sometimes people go through a midlife crisis. Don't give up on us. Whatever it is, friends, that once animated your soul to be connected to Israel, be it your first visit, be it hearing Hatikva, be it hearing your child sing Hatikva, be it carrying your child to the Kotel, which of course is so holy and so complicated, be it when, I'm saying you, but I mean me, when you sat on your balcony in Tel Aviv and you looked down and the crosswalk was full of living Jews, and you knew that was the minyan that your ancestors could pray with, the street signs reflecting the literary giants of our people, the politics reflecting the deep discomfort of organizing a Jewish community. This declaration was not a separation from a governing power like the American Declaration of Independence. This Megillah, this sacred scroll, is a statement of selfhood. I exist. I am a person. I am free. And I have a home. For a Jew, the word home has always been complicated. We're here for a little while. And then we're not. And then we're here for a little while. And then we're not. Well, we are here, and our right to be home in our homeland is irrevocable. This is a brave, courageous, beautiful statement of taking our destiny into our own hands and believing in peace and recognizing that we must be able to defend ourselves. And for 75 years, friends, that has been what we have done. What will we do with our freedom now? When we see the protest movements rallying for freedom and dignity and democracy in Israel, carrying Israeli flags where they go, singing Hatikva, reciting Megillat Ha'atzmaut, what people like us have you seen in the world who argue and protest the government in the language of the nation, singing about the dream of being a free people in our own land, knowing that that requires devotion and our feet. Friends, this is a day for incredible celebration. This is a day for reconnecting and recommitting. We were reborn today, 75 years ago. If only there had been a Jewish homeland 90 years ago. There is one now. We are so blessed. So my heart is in the East right now. wherever I go, all the days of my life. My heart is in the East. I hope we get to meet there sometime soon and do the work that needs to be done to raise up our people, to kiss the very land that Avram and Sarah walked, to know that the future of the Jewish people is bound up in our future in that land. There are lots of ways to be Jewish. What a glorious thing it is to have a home in which to be Jewish. Wherever you are, I invite you to sing with me. Kol od baleva pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfatei mizrach kadima Ayin leTzion Sophia Od lo avda tikvateinu Hatikva bat shnot alpayim Liotam chovshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim Liot am chovshi be'artzeinu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Chag Sameach, dear friends. Have a beautiful day today. See you tomorrow.